Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, today we're going to be talking about, multiple altcoins, market conditions, and what we should be expecting over the next few weeks. I haven't uploaded in roughly 2 days. I've been mainly off of social media, just enjoying, the Easter break, Easter weekend, as I am Christian myself. So, just said, hey, right now is the perfect time. Plus, the markets were very, very slow and weird kind of this week. The last 2 weeks have been absolutely, volatile. Bitcoin this week was kind of sleeping, and obviously we had, Friday off and etc. But we can see in the last few days for Bitcoin, it's just been kind of slow, right? Kind of slow. Nothing too exciting to report about. Something like gold. Even this week when we go to it, I mean, there was only like one real exciting day, which is the Wednesday, and then Thursday was a little bit of sell off. So, you know, this week overall, nothing too crazy other than that one gold day, but gold's not really relevant for you guys unless you're in the Discord and you are trading. But look, right? So not no uploads for 2 days, and now we're back to a triple banger. So we will discuss Bitcoin a little bit, then we'll go to Bitcoin dominance and such, and then we'll discuss altcoins individually. So Bitcoin overall looks very, very weak. I do expect a little bit of a pullback. I'm still looking for this weekly institutional candle, right? Somewhere down here is where I think, a nice liquidity sweep would be a nice, type of pullback structure for it to happen. Even if it's quick, do something like this and then start recovering quickly. And I do want us to see, the 90K zone by the end of next week. That is what I really, really kind of hope for. I hope that we have a faster and better week this time around than last week. I will say though, if we go to the news, we could see that, Monday, bank holidays for pretty much everything. You know, because yeah, Easter stuff. But then we can see, some big news events already happening for the world. And again, more bank holidays. But that's just for Australian and New Zealand dollar. And then Friday, we got, again, European, but it's Italian. And then we can see some, more news events. So, right, should be a decent week in terms of volatility. We all are also coming to an end for April. Obviously we still have 10 days away, but we are already 2/3 in. Overall, ladies and gentlemen, I expect, this month, May and June to be recovery months when we talk about Bitcoin and altcoins, right? We can see last month closed very, very weak. And we talked about how there's going to likely to be a liquidity sweep. And we did sweep that, right? We swept the monthly candle, which was also the 3-month candle, which was also a weekly candle, which was also a daily candle. So all the time frames that pretty much could have got swept other than like a 6-month candle have been swept. And even when we look in terms of 6-month candle, right, if it's going to end up like this type of rejection, this type of candle, right, especially if we flip a little bit higher, because I expect, April, May, June to be mainly recoveries, then this is going to look very fantastic because I do expect Bitcoin to create higher highs, generally speaking, right? I do expect Bitcoin to have one more final big push, hopefully, going upwards of 150,000. I'm not sure we will hit this range. I think more likely is going to be like around the, high 120s, low 130s mark, which would be, roughly 20K above this zone. So we have to obviously see, when we did, pump above these highs, we did go up a lot, right? From these highs to practically these highs was 50%, $36,000 gain. So it was a lot, but we also did consolidate for many months and we were at a lower price point. So it was easier technically to pump. So, if we do pump here, hopefully we'll pump, 20K, 30K, at least creating higher highs. And you know what? That is going to be fine with me. And look, in terms of Bitcoin dominance, we are getting closer to our zones. We know that roughly 69 to 70% is going to be the main area where I'm looking for Bitcoin dominance to break structure, right? Go up to here somewhere more or less, do something like this, and then kind of like just sell off, do something very, very similar to what it did here. And yeah, pretty much once we have this type of sell, right? This type of sell, the one we had over here, then we should see altcoins pump a decent amount. Then when it consolidates for a couple of weeks, right? Consolidates for a couple of weeks is when, there's going to be price structure created on top of our all-time highs for certain coins. And then when we dump an extra 20, 30% in dominance, then that's when the true altcoin season will be happening. And like I said, I do expect it to be happening late summer to early fall. Worst case should be like fall, I guess, mid to late fall for the first pump. I don't really see this whole thing dragging out past next year, past April of 2026, and that includes both the pumps, because I do expect there to be some type of crash. And I do expect, more or less, even though it takes longer now for things to develop because there's more money in the markets, so it's not as easy, right? So the seasons could actually be, the whole cycles could be actually dragged on. Each cycle could be an extra couple more months, another year, year and a half. I don't expect it to be too dragged on because yeah, there is more money and stuff, but I don't expect things to be really dragged on too much longer. So I expect a crash maximum within a year where we go into bear season. Now, in terms of individual coins, we can see something like Rndr absolutely killing it the last 2 weeks. That is what we love to see, ladies and gentlemen, right? It looks absolutely fantastic for the weekly candle closes. For the monthly, we could even go up all the way upwards of $5.50, or even potentially upwards of $6.55. I really, really do think that we have a great chance. If we do see some type of pullback, like let's say the next week, we could go down to like pretty much 350 before then we really spring up for this coin. So something like this, right? Overall is what I expect. Kaspa, right? Kaspa, I really wanted to reclaim 8 cents. Once it's going to reclaim 8 cents, then the next target is going to be 11 cents. Once we get to 11 cents and we reclaim this territory, we should be in the clear. Now we will talk about something like Myro. Myro is practically dead. So if you are holding on to Myro, you are pretty much holding on for dear life. I don't expect this coin to do too well. I was really high hopes for this coin, especially when we start to recover structure as well. But then things started to dump. But not only that, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, just like there's no support from the devs, there's no support from the community at all. So Myro had so much potential, but unfortunately, this coin is going to the coffin. We can see something like Ondo, right? Nice break of structure on the daily candle. We have slowed down over the last few days. We could see a pullback downwards of 76 cents before we pull up again. But once we kind of get past 91 cents, we should kind of go up high all the way to $1.12. Something like Pangolin, version 3 pretty much came out. We can see not much really has changed. I do think Pangolin is still a decent dark horse for this cycle. Obviously, this thing kind of moves more in bursts, so we will have to see and how things play out. The next move for Pangolin is going to be pretty much to reclaim back the 14-cent area. Once we get to the 14-cent area, then the next territory to claim is going to be roughly the 21-cent area. And then there are a few areas I could still talk about, but we should just go one step at a time. Something like ICP, right? Something like ICP is looking very solid. It hasn't really pumped the last few days, but that is okay. We are printing higher lows, and I do expect for us to take out this high sooner than later. But yeah, that is it. Pretty much it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys did enjoy, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.